All right, welcome in anybody that's stopping in. Thank you so much for stopping in today. I have quite a bit that I am going to cover. I appreciate each and every one of you that stopped by. If you will, go ahead, tap the screen if you will, tap the screen, and please share the live if you will, share the live with whoever it is that you think would be interested in the things that we're going to cover today. I am going to be talking about Larry Hoover. We're going to talk about NBA YoungBoy. We're going to talk about the leader of the nation and the actions that were taken over the last 24, 48 hours. We're also going to be talking about an update for what's happening with the direct examination of today's witness and who today's witness is and what that means for where we are when it comes to the trial itself. So thank you so much for those who are stopping in. If you will, tap the screen, share the live, and all right, I saw something at the top. I'm like, I'm not really able to see that very clearly. That's fine. I will reference that in another way. I normally can look up there and see exactly whether or not you guys are doing what I'm asking you to do, but I'm not going to be able to see that clearly just because I'm working on something else. So if you will do what we're supposed to do to support each other, to get the proper kind of engagement, that whole I want to go viral and all that. We don't really need to do that. All you need to do is just respect each platform, and then what you do on one platform will happen for yours. So if you will, share your daily heartbeat. That helps you, that helps me. If you will engage and type a comment and share your thoughts, even if you just see something in the title and you have something you want to say about it, type something, say something. That helps not only me, but that helps you. And so it's what you put out, you get back kind of algorithm and app happening. And we would like to continue being able to grow. And I know by being able to grow here, you will be able to grow as well. So please do make sure that you share the live. I'm going to do the same thing because I can't tell you to do something that I haven't done myself, right? So make sure that you share out the live and tap the screen and invite your people into the conversation. And that is definitely helping with the growth on the app. I appreciate that. And we don't even know how long the particular app is going to last. There's a whole nother conversation. And we're not going to go into that right now because that is completely off topic. Let me know if you can hear me. And we're going to go to my very last post. The post that I made in the middle of the night last night was just some clarity because I am not sure. And we're going to get to Diddy. As you see, that is on here. We're going to talk to Diddy trial. That's something that we normally do at this hour, but there's so many other things happening. We have to unpack other things as well. We can't just sit and talk Diddy, Diddy, Diddy. We spent, probably like a week talking Shador Sanders. All those things are great, but there are other things happening around one particular topic. So sometimes you will see and hear me cover different topics and still get the one that I know that most people want to come by and hear. Okay. Thank you so much for coming by, and please do. Thank you so much. I appreciate that love. So make sure that, oh, you're saying, are you able to hear it from, test it in your headphones, if you will. Tell me how that sound. Sometimes you guys, the sound can be loud. So if you are at work, let me know if it's a little bit too loud, and I'll try to bring it down a little bit. I have a lot that I have to cover, but let me know if it is a little bit too loud. Okay. All right. So Chance the Rapper. I don't know what that was about. Chance the Rapper is a brilliant human being, so he knows even to cover the Larry Hoover topic. He knows what to say and what not to say, and if he says something one way, it may have been strategic enough to make people to, kind of. He's always the one that I say that they kind of put out there to kind of build a topic. He's a topic builder, So when Chance the Rapper does something, he crosses over into spaces that a lot of people don't cross over into. So sometimes he can say something on his platform, which causes people to do a lot of research. And one thing that you will find, even when it comes to everything, there is a certain culture that tries to out research us all the time. They think they're better experts on our experiences than we are ourselves, right? So they will go and over research. When I take the trip to DC to see the Smithsonian, the African American Museum. When I went there, what I saw was us hanging out, kind of looking, recognizing some people from school, or seeing, people came in big groups and we were talking, we were laughing, we were walking through the exhibits and barely paying attention. And we were having like one big barbecue and taking a bunch of pictures and doing a lot of Instagram lives. And what I saw the other culture doing was looking at everything that was out on put in there, all the information, reading it thoroughly. I always saw the YT people in the museum reading everything in its full entirety, which is what I do, the entire time that I'm there. That's why I have to make the second trip there. But in my attempt to make another trip there, I went a year ago. And in my plan to make another trip there, what the YT culture, the negative part of the YT culture did, was they went back to the leader of the nation and said, hey, when we went to the African American Museum, they have this up, they have that up, and that's DEI, and we don't like that, and that's disrespectful, and ban this. And they pulled a lot of things out of our museum because they were busy researching everything that we had put up and saw that we were in there not appreciating it as a culture, as one. We were not united. So they were able to go in there and tear down the very things that many of you will never now see. I have videos, I have pictures, I have all kinds of things that I was able to see inside of the National African American Museum that no longer exist inside of the museum because they are taking it out. They are saying certain displays that were up were disrespectful. So it is that inability to do your due diligence that upsets me. So when Chance the Rapper gets up there and says something as if he didn't do due diligence, and I know that he did because he's too brilliant of a human being to talk so loosely about Larry Hoover, then I know that he's just trying to encourage and entertain the YT side, which pays his bills. Right? So what I decided to do in the middle of our Diddy conversation is we're going to talk about the actual details of Larry Hoover. So hold the Chance the Rapper with the whole welcome home, stop playing. Stop playing with him. Stop playing with his family. Yes, at some point it is very possible that he is going to come home. But what happened yesterday is not a glad to see you home with your family kind of thing at all. What did happen was Larry Hoover received a commuting from the president, commuted him yesterday, right? The federal part of his sentencing was commuted yesterday by the leader of the nation, right? So with that, that would be probably legendary in a sense for those who feel so, but they didn't erase the state charges. So he will remain. Probably at some point in time, he will be transferred from the maximum security location that he's at in Colorado. He probably will make this, they probably will make this whole dramatic transfer of putting him back into Illinois. But then when he goes into the Illinois system, he is still going to have to fight. This is a man that was locked up in 1973, 51, 52 years ago. He's locked up in 1973, right? So when he was locked up then, the state charges were never dropped. He also had caught the federal case as well, right? But the state charges still have to be answered to, and that needed a pardon. And that was not given to him by the president. What the president did was remembered a conversation that he had in the Oval Office in this dramatic viral moment where he was talking to Kanye West, and Kanye West did his, kind of information loaded overload, which often sounds like one is rambling on with nothingness, but it was very brilliant in its delivery. And he said, I want you to, if you do, I'm supporting you, 2018, I'm supporting you, and this is what you do, and I'm here for you. I would like to see you free Larry Hoover. And then at that viral moment, if you remember that way back when, and Trump's like, Larry who? He knew nothing about or had any kind of reaction as if he knew he was anything other than Big Meat Larry Hoover. That's probably about all. He knows from partying at Mar-a-Lago, right? So he had no idea about who that person was. But he did his due diligence and researched it, and here we are in his second term, and he decided that that was the person that he would maybe not pardon because he thinks that that would be a complete upset, but he decided to commute the federal sentence of. So the commuting of the federal sentence doesn't send Larry Hoover home. Why doesn't it send him home? Because he also has 150 to 200 year sentencing with the state, right? So with Illinois saying 150 to 200 years, now someone has to come in and decide, maybe possibly that governor can come in and say, okay, I'm looking at this. This man has been inside He is a man, according to Larry Hoover Jr., he is a man whose son says that he didn't know how to read when he went to jail in 1973. He was dyslexic. He had like a lot of learning issues. And he is a man that the son has now told Breakfast Club, Lauren LaRosa. The son talked maybe just a few hours ago to Lauren LaRosa, and he says, you know what? When it comes to my dad, he's gotten an education while inside. He has degrees now. He's taken a lot of classes. He has, that the prison reform that you guys say works, right? So he has had reform. He's been reformed. He's been rehabbed. He's gone through all these different behavior, demeanor type courses and classes and training over the years. He's in there also standing now as a teacher and helping those who come in with shorter sentences and helping them rebuild their lives and go back into society to be better people. He's an influencer in a good way now. And everything that he was, or that they thought that he was, or allegedly say that he was, and convicted him of at that time, he's no longer that person, right? So with that plea being put out to the governor of Illinois, the governor of Illinois can say, okay, President Trump commuted the federal sentencing, and there's a reason possibly why, so I can consult with the administration. We here in Illinois, they can say, okay, we could consult with the administration and we can go have a conversation, is, maybe try to piece this all together and say, is this a person that we should put back into society? And if we take this person and put him back into society, what will he do? How will he put out any good to say, let's stop glorifying the things that you guys made my name become, and let's go the total opposite direction of, right? And I would like to clear my name and put into a better light the type of lifestyle and the things that I am and the things that I was, and can we do better for our people, or for people as a general, as a whole, right? That's the kind of thing that they're going to expect from Larry Hoover in order for the governor to pardon, which is the only way that he will go home. He will need a pardon from the governor, or he can possibly go up to the parole board, which I think at one point they weren't even letting him do that. According to the interview with the Sun, he was saying that he wasn't able to do that all the time, as often as one should be allowed to do. There was at one point where they were trying to say that he had to go every 5 years, and then somehow the attorneys worked and did their due diligence, and it was now lessened to every 3 years he could go up. So that thing, every time, according to Larry Hoover Jr., every time he does go up to the board, they always find something that they say that he didn't do, or they kind of bamboozle him, paraphrasing what he's saying, that they bamboozle him into these things that were impossible tasks to complete, and then it makes him get denied each time, right? So with all that going on, you have that, the parole board, or the person that can speak it above and beyond the parole board would be Larry Hoover, the governor of Illinois. It would be able to say, okay, I too, he's in Colorado. I too want to just go ahead and just pardon him, or I will pardon him. I saw that the leader of the nation commuted him. I will pardon him. And then he gets to go from Colorado straight to home. And is that something that will happen? But when he goes home, what is he going to give society? We see the success of the judge who made the mistake of giving Walter King Tut entirely too many years for the thing that they accused him of. And when that judge came to be and took a look back at his life, he wrote a book and he says, I decided that that was something that I shouldn't have done. And then he, reversed his decision, and Walter King Tut walks home. And then as he goes home with his wife, King Tut and Coach Coco get on every week, and they sit and they talk, and he talks about the ways that he would like to see things done differently, and the betterment of the people and the empowerment of the people, and doing better and not living those certain lifestyles, and promoting things that are for the good and not for the bad. And doing things like that with being released is a really good look. And then it also shows that this system that you say that you created is for the betterment of people, that it actually works. Because if you can't prove that this system that you put people in, this private prison financially beneficial system that you constantly put people in, is nothing more than a money maker and slavery. So if you want people to think that it is anything different than that, then what you would have to do is stop making it look like that and actually show that you give people second chances, and that someone of the nature of Larry Hoover is in there and he's showing a total turnaround, and he's doing something different, and he's denouncing anything that he may have been associated with in the past, and he's denouncing the demeaning of women. He's denouncing any kind of negative activity in the streets. He's saying, I don't support that. I don't have anything to do with that. I go against anyone who's living that lifestyle. Then you have reform, right? And it looks the way that it is supposed to look, and that's what you want it to look like. Then you let him out, and then you set the example. Right. And then you get the Walter King Tuts, and you get the Larry Hoovers, and you get the change, and you get the Southwest Terrys, and you get the Big Meech, and you get the change. And then you empower people that were highly influenced by, let me make sure that I quote this all the way right, because there were a group of people that came along and highly influenced many young people to think that that type of a lifestyle, whether it be Larry Hoover or Big Meech or Diddy, there were people that came along and made a great profit off of that type of a lifestyle. Does anyone disagree, or does anyone, at anything that I had to say so far, does anyone agree with me or disagree with me? This is your opportunity to post in the comments and let me know what your thoughts are. Do you feel that I'm somewhere in the direction of how we need to cover this particular Larry Hoover topic, or do you feel that that I'm off, and that what I'm saying is not how you feel? Let me know. Let me know. I'm going to pull it up directly for. Now, this is something that I normally don't do in the middle of my afternoon lives, but I am going to do something. Ishmael, AI Ishmael,
My name's
welcome.
Al Ishmael, but hey, how you
It's
doing?
Al. Okay, all right. Al looks like AI. We see it all the time. I'm starting to think that's AI all the time. All right, Al. Thank you for coming back. And what are your thoughts?
This is something I've been thinking. Like, it's definitely possible that Trump could potentially pardon or commute Diddy after his trial.
Okay, so we're talking about the commuting of Larry Hoover, but you think also, in addition to, he could give a
I
pardon.
think that he could possibly do the same thing for Diddy. If he can pardon NBA YoungBoy, or AKA Cantrell, and he can commute like basically Larry Hoover's sentence, then I think that
Right.
he might do something for Diddy too. And
He
along with
does
that,
have the power too, but Larry, the difference between Sean P. Diddy Combs, NBA YoungBoy, and Larry Hoover is Larry Hoover has been locked up since 1973, has
absolutely,
had an
absolutely,
opportunity to show reform, and then
absolutely.
NBA YoungBoy has been locked up for 4.5
Well,
years.
this is what
So
I'm gonna
there's
say
an
about
opportunity
YoungBoy.
for change.
YoungBoy, he it's a little bit different because he's also being on a account of Rico as well. He has an account of Rico, and it has to do with I'm trying to figure out a way to say this
Or
without
had rather.
right had. I'm trying to say this in a way that's TikTok friendly. He had something along the lines of committing pharmaceutical fraud, where he had these prescriptions, and he was getting rugs prescribed in his name or in other people's names to him, and then he was turning around and
Right. I
selling it.
mean, so he was under some charges, but like I said, that is what we would then consider his past, right? Because he's been given the opportunity by the leader of the nation, which is the top
He did have
job
like
in the
I'm
nation.
responding to somebody in
He's
the comments. He did have like a Rico kind of situation where basically they were trying to make it seem like he was racketeering. He had a whole bunch of groups and he was
right.
coordinating these
Okay,
groups to
so
go
hold
out.
on for a second. So hold on for a second. So here's what we're going to do. So you can say Rico for sure. When you're talking about, for whatever reason, the algorithm doesn't want, unless you are a medical doctor, they don't want you to talk about anything that people take. So you can't go into those languages as well. So what I like to do on my platform is, like I just had a whole conversation about Larry Hoover. It's kind of like what I require when people go to church. People can open the Bible and tell you a scripture. You don't know if the pastor's telling you a lie. So what you can do is, I'm going to tell you Larry Hoover XYZ, go do the rest of your research. I don't have to detail his charges. And if I talk to you about NBA YoungBoy, go do your research. If I talk to you about Diddy, go do your research. So I don't have to use all the terminologies associated with these names. And that's the way that I keep my algorithm real clean. So when you come up on here, you can talk about it without talking about it. You know how you can finesse the topics? You're paralegal, you said. So I know that you have that training, because we both have that training, right? So you know how to finesse the topics without actually saying. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I'm trying
Okay.
my best here. It's just like
I know
it's
it's
so
challenging,
censored
but
on
the
this thing.
algorithm can. If I'm not careful and I do allow it, then when I get off of the app and I'm no longer live, then what the algorithm will do is just send me a bunch of people speaking like that. And I don't want the algorithm to ever think that I want to be associated with, right?
Right. I don't want you to get
So
in trouble or anything either.
yeah, I mean, I'm gonna still be great regardless, because I exist on every platform that actually exists out
Of
there. So
course.
TikTok can't call, shut my voice down. But while we're here, let's try to just honor the thing. But I get what you're saying. But let's just get back real quick to where I am. So mute your mic real quick if you'd like to stay up, and then I'm gonna move over to NBA in just a moment. I have something a little different that I'm gonna share with you guys regarding NBA YoungBoy, but we will be talking about that. So when it comes to Larry Hoover, and you hear Larry Hoover Jr. talking in the interview a few hours ago, what he was trying to say when talking to Lauren LaRosa is, I understand everything that people thought that my dad was, but my dad stands for something different, and he has been locked up since 1973. And who my father is, it doesn't matter how they glorify the name and what they say out there. I know who my dad is, and this is not who he is anymore. And this is the reason why we put in the request for the governor to give a pardon on the state charges. Because without that pardon, you're looking at maybe by the 2062 before he could even walk out the door. And this is a man that is in his 70s. So in order for him to be able to actually go home to his family, which he has not been able to do at this time, the only way that it will be able to happen is with a pardon. So then you make people that we fail to call out all the time. This is when you make certain people stand up, because you've been too quiet on the issues. You were really quiet when the BMF series came out. You were really quiet when Big Meech walked out of prison. You were really quiet now. Even I haven't heard enough from you when it comes to Larry Hoover, but I go back to your lyrics and then I call you out, because I say, where are you, Rick Ross? Where are you? Because the reason why they were able to glorify this particular person, half of them didn't even know all the research of, or the things that he was accused of, and maybe Chance the Rapper has a little bit of knowledge dropping in what he said yesterday regarding Larry Hoover, but there's a lot out there. So instead of putting that out there as a rapper who's able to put some positive things in because you have a large platform, instead what you did was you created this whole BMF song, and I think I'm Big Meech, Larry Hoover, whipping work, hallelujah. You did that, and you made it glorify the things that his name was associated with. And you talk about the rugs in the song, and you talk about the lifestyle, and you made his name associated with things that the man himself says, I don't want to be associated with that. That's not who I am anymore. I've reformed. I became a new person. I learned how to do things differently. I gave myself an education so that I could go above and beyond everything that they thought that I would forever be. Right? So the responsibility at this point, that yeah, I'm throwing the responsibility on those who want to constantly keep the negativity in their lyrics, because the time has come to change. And maybe negativity in their lyrics because the time has come to change. And maybe the opportunity for change is something that the leader of the nation is looking at. There are people that say, well, why is he choosing a bunch of gangsters? There are people that say, well, why is he choosing a bunch of gangsters? Maybe he's saying that they came up in times where things were not fair and they did things wrong, and they are people that are looked into, and the person for the administration, then she did her due diligence and she did some research and said that I think that if we take these people and we pardon them, then she did her due diligence and she did some research and said that I think that if we take these people and we pardon them, then we're able to take a events and have these people come up and speak at these events and share their stories, and we could get a different outcome, and share their stories, and we could get a different outcome to where maybe the next 10 to 20 to 30 years, a lot of those old ways will go away. So maybe he has an agenda at some point, some type of going in and out. If you don't know, we had a horrible storm that nearly took the city out. So if it's not going well, all right, thank you for letting me know that. So, yeah, so so that's my positioning on where I stand. But I had to make sure last night I did so on the video. If you watched that last video that I posted last night on my timeline, if you will also follow the host. Um, that's why I said what I said about Larry Hoover, because I needed to make sure that it was clear that there's a lot more that has to come, and people say it's not going to happen, but personally, I feel that it will happen, right? And
I
then
hope it does.
I think it
It,
should.
this is my thing. I don't know if people remember back in like maybe 2004, 2005, um, Tukey Williams, the founder of the Crips. It was a very similar kind of situation. He was trying to get out of jail. People in California were over here protesting, saying, "Hey, he needs to be freed," and he ended up getting unalived through euthanization. So, they threw like a crazy number at him too, that like he couldn't outlive the sentence. So hopefully,
Yeah.
because he has the commute, maybe the governor will sign it. But to me, I don't think, like, if I'm a Democratic governor, I don't think I'm going to sign something.
I'm almost positive that it has less to do with politics and more to do with necessity. So I'm almost positive, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the governor will do this pardon. And the reason why this pardon speaks the language of Project 2025 is because Project 2025 is trying to put a message out there that these are the times of change. They want to take times back to when things were not the way that they were. And they have to reach back into the times to the people that may have influenced different environments of people, because if you really want to do the actual factual on who Larry Hoover influenced, he really did less influence in the black culture, and he actually made a bunch of YT people become major serial did less influence in the black culture, and he actually made a bunch of YT people become major serial killers. He inspired the worst of crime by people who misunderstood what he stood for. So maybe those YT boys will come to Jesus, so to speak, and I think that that would be a very good move for all that Project 2025 seems to be trying to push out with their agenda. So it could be a lot of good that could help clean up the now drug infested YT culture that does exist today.
No,
So
absolutely.
there's a lot that could come from Larry Hoover being
Um,
pardoned.
I think that it would be awesome if they did release him. But again, I think that the other side of this is the like I said, the political part of it.
Yeah, the political part of it does definitely get in the way, but I'm almost positive that the direction that they're going with this is that the governor is going to stand up, and it's going to be a bipartisan decision to say that I think that this person who has learned a lot, who
And that would be
has
beautiful.
experienced a lot, will be
Yeah.
able to bring something good to the table.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
All right, so when it comes to NBA YoungBoy, a lot of people say, "What in the world? Why did this happen?" You
Not a
know
fan
what?
of this guy.
Sometimes it could be a part of maybe it's just who you know. Big R, who are we speaking with? Welcome up.
Hey, how you doing?
How you doing? What are your thoughts on the topic? It looks like it's going out, sweetie. Sorry about that. I'm in a location where the weather's really, really bad. It's not being friendly to microphones right now. All right, you guys, let me know if you're still here with me. So when it comes to NBA YoungBoy, maybe sometimes it's just knowing all the right people. A lot of people, there's a lot of speculation as to, maybe this was paid for, or maybe, because of who he knows, they were able to influence XYZ. Who knows? All I know is that some people just get the better end of the stick, and if you happen to know all the right people, maybe life just goes really well for you. And this has happened for him. So whether we agree with it or not, the pardon is there, and it's not going to be snatched
I
back, and
think it
it's
has to
there to
do something
stay.
with Trump's son. I think Trump's son is a fan or something. Man, like I don't know. It
Mm.
usually is young guys that are really into NBA YoungBoy. I
I would highly doubt that the
I
president's
don't know,
son
man. It could be
is
something like that, or kind of like what you
no,
said. It could be maybe
definitely
his
that's
managers or
speculation.
somebody hit up
No,
Trump and
no.
yeah.
So what if what people have to realize, especially when it comes to the leader of this nation, no, at no point does the likes of him do anything if it doesn't have any kind of enticement of make me money. So if it did anything, maybe it was someone that says, hey, you know what, here's something that I think will be a really good investment for if we did XYZ, and then it made him some money. So he's not going to make decisions based on who likes who, because if we decided, if he made decisions on who likes who, we would only have black people left in prison, because he would just release them all if they're not black. So I just think that he makes decisions more on a financial basis than he does on anything else. He just seems to be that kind of a guy, and every leader's different. And if he likes to make, decisions, whether accepting planes from nations or whatever it is that he does, if he feels like that's what works for his administration, he'll do it. And we, the people, will talk about it, and then we'll recover from it. And the next president will do what they do, and we'll talk about that. I just don't let myself get overworked about the least of things.
Politics. I remember. I don't know if you remember. Kanye West was actually back to the Larry Hoover things. I remember. I don't know if you remember. Kanye West was actually back to the Larry Hoover thing. I hate to keep jumping around. Kanye West and Drake had a big event like maybe 3 4 years ago where they were talking about free Larry Hoover. Kanye West went and he spoke with Donald Trump and he was talking about
Yeah,
freeing
we
Larry
just
Hoover.
talked about that already. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
think
we
that's
talked
really
about the Kanye conversation, and Kanye is very influential in decisions that the administration has made over the past. So if anybody gets the credit for the commuting of Larry Hoover and moving on to the next phase of the pardon, I think that the people will definitely give it to Kanye West, because he is the
absolutely.
one that brought it to the attention of. And that's not a bad thing when Kanye is able to point out and see that someone has changed and that they've reformed and that they could bring something good to the conversation. I don't think it's a bad thing. But here, look at guys, look, let's go over to the cross examination. So we are seeing the defense earlier do an extreme cross examination of Deontay Nash, celeb stylist to Diddy and Cassie. So that went through very well, just to kind of break down a lot of the things that, Deontay had to say, and just kind of questioning whether or not this is something that, yeah, how relevant is this, and do we need to throw things out? And they even went through a few hours yesterday where they asked for a mistrial, where they said, look, this was nasty work, and we don't like anything about this, kind of messiness that's being thrown out there on the witness stand. And a mistrial was requested, but it was denied. And then they go on to Mia. Now, let me tell you who Mia is. We've been waiting for Mia without realizing it. So Mia, which is not the actual name of the person taking the witness stand today, Mia is number 4. So remember when we first began to talk about the Diddy trial, we talked about how there were going to be 4 trial victims presented from the prosecution, and that the star victim, the star witness that they were going to use was Cassie Ventura. And then we talked about number 2 and number 3 and number 4. We also had the conversation about how number 3 was the one that they couldn't find, and that somehow that witness that they were going to present was nowhere to be found. So you have already gotten to number 4. This is really important, because other than bringing on additional witnesses to collaborate the 3 that they were able to present of the 4, other than bringing on additional expert witnesses and maybe hands-on friends and family, that's it. And when they're done with this, the prosecution will get out of the way, and the defense is going to bring theirs. So we're probably looking at the defense bringing everything to the table by Monday or Tuesday of next week. And here's why. With Mia on the stand today, she's number 4. And they are saying today, prosecution went to the break and said this: we need the rest of the day to kind of go at the direct examination of Mia. When we're done with that, then the defense can jump in. I doubt that we're going to be able to get the defense to do so by 5, because of the upset, the visible upset and the visible emotion coming from Mia. So there's moments and breaks and things like that that are happening. So we're not looking at the defense being able to cross Mia until Friday. That's a real hard cross and tough window for the defense, because they only have Friday. Why? Because the judge is saying this timeline has been messy. There's things happening, flying people in, people not getting to the court on time, rearranging witnesses because someone's flight didn't come in and having to bring in someone else out of order. It's just been all over the place. It's been messy. We need to clean this thing up. So they say, look, by the time you get done, we need you to finish your direct examination by the end of Thursday. And by Friday, we go ahead and let the defense come in and cross-exam Mia. And after that, we're moving forward on Monday. And that's the position that the judge has, which is really good work from the judge, because your Honor is saying, look, I'm not doing this because I told y'all I'm taking my fake Independence Day. No, he didn't say that. But he says that he's going to the 4th of July on time, right? So what he wants from that is to make sure that this trial runs the 8-week window that they had set forward. And that's really good that that's going in that order. So far, when it comes to Mia and the testimony in the Diddy trial today, she's witness number 4 for the prosecution. I'm sorry, she's the main witness, big number 4 for the prosecution. She says that Diddy DV'd her. She says that Diddy, she testified that Diddy A-B'd her. She testified that Diddy S-A'd her as well. She also testified that about Cassie's head injury, and that she was there, that she saw, all of the red on the bed frame. She also testified about the plastic surgeon and how the doctors were claiming that this incident that happened and this injury was due to Cassie drinking, and that she remembers, that part about it being her drinking, but still couldn't get out of her mind that, the red that she saw on the edge of the bed frame, right? And Mia, again, when seen in court today, those inside say she was visibly upset, emotional prior to and during testimony. And as far as the jury and their reaction to Mia's testimony, there's been no clear jury reaction as of this, the break earlier. There was no clear jury reaction to her testimony. So that is pretty much all that I have on Mia. Ishmael, did you want to wrap up with any thoughts on that part of the Diddy trial?
No, actually, no. No, you covered everything on that one.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming up. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
No problem. Okay, you guys, and so and that's it, and we really see nothing more. Of course, a lot of things are going to come out, but we just see Mia, in my opinion, as being someone like Cassie, like the star witness, her identity being protected, because that is the request of maybe her team, her legal team, and herself, and telling similar stories to Cassie, like Capricorn Clark was able to do as well. But however, in addition to, she'll be able to collaborate some of the things that, Cassie said, this happened to me, this happened, and I was there, I'm her good friend, still to this day, her good friend kind of testimony. And then the jury gets to do with that what they can, right? And that's really pretty much it. We're going to see the prosecution do this direct examination and just continue to paint the same similar picture that we saw with Cece and with Cassie. The same thing being said, kind of bringing that Deontay Nash in there and Kid Cudi, just to kind of really bring the same picture that they are really trying to push, which would be to paint this picture of the force, the fraud, the coercion, the underlying elements of SMEG's trafficking, right? That's where we know that they are trying to go, right? So that's all that I have on that. We'll see the direct examination all throughout the day, and then we expect a good, very highly skilled and professional cross-examination from that high-profile attorney team that has been assembled for the defense of Sean P. Diddy Combs, right? Now let's move on for a second to new Texas laws. That's why I added that to the screen also, because I didn't want to be live and not talk about that for just a few. So Texas has put into place a bill that says, look, I know that we allow the THC related elements to be put into the atmosphere. I know even in the city of Austin, we completely legalized the city of Austin to where dispensaries were even posted up. And we have even allowed in the actual Travis County the area of Travis County for the 420 events and things like that. But we should have seen the paradigm shift happening in Texas. We should have known that there is a major paradigm shift happening when we saw Willie Nelson take his entire 420 event and moved it to another city. and actually to another state. I'm sorry, when he moved it to another state. So when you saw that happen, you should have said, what exactly is going on? And definitely it's because a lot of changes are happening. If you look up the state is just going through a great level of changes that's happening in Texas. And I keep talking about not just this being the home state and telling you guys all things Texas all the time. I want you to know Texas, because I want you to know that whatever you see Texas do will happen in other states, especially if they're still red and conservative AF. Right. So what they did was they removed so the bill says there will be no more THC at all. How about that, right? So the bill says we're not going to have THC. In addition to that, the bill also says, there will not be any. How do I want to say that without saying the wrong thing? You won't have green in the grocery stores anymore. You will not have the green in the so-called puff puff give kind of shops anymore. You won't have dispensaries anymore. There will not be any allowing for people to be pulled over in these protections anymore. What is the word that they use for that? Decriminalization. No, this is an all out, we don't want it in our state law. And if this continues forward and the governor doesn't do anything to turn his back on it, which so far it doesn't seem that he will, then September 1st is not allowed at all. You're talking back in the days, you guys remember the 80s and the 90s when a simple roach in your ashtray in the car could give you 10 years per roach? Does anybody remember those felonies that were happening back in the day where a roach from a blunt gave you one per blunt found in a vehicle would give you 10 years per one found? That's the kind of laws that they are bringing back when it comes to green and THC. So they're saying, no, we're not going to have any more of that. Absolutely not going to have that in our state. So by September 1st, things are changing, and they're giving everybody a good warning and to be fully aware. And there are some of us that grew up in the time when that's the way things were in Texas. So we're not really into complete shock. There are other things that you are seeing happening in Texas that if you grew up Texas and you have lived for the years that I've lived, and you've been around 50 plus years, and you're not really shocked that you're like, they say, oh, Texas is creating all these new laws. And then people from our generation say, oh, Texas is bringing it back to being Texas again. So we're not really into that complete shock that a lot of new people that migrated from Mexico, or migrated from California, and migrated from New York, and came from all these other spaces because you thought that it would stay. Yeah, some of us just knew that there was just a matter of time before times would go back to how it was before. When you talk about Texas and the things that existed before, they have just passed a law that the 10 Commandments, which is a part of the Trinity gospel. And when people say, well, what's the Trinity gospel? That's when people believe in the fact that there is God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. And the Trinity gospel mindset is to follow the things of the Bible. And the things that are in the Bible come from the Bible being one of the best-selling books of all time. No other book has ever sold out the way that the Bible has, and it is one of the teachings of old. And the very first version of was the King James Bible, right? So okay, let's see. Not eligible. Okay, so they hit me with what did I say? Bible, green, tea. They hit me with a note on there. Oh gosh, who knows what I said? Who knows what I said? I said something and somebody's wearing all their emotions on their sleeve. And we do this every day on this live. But I will go over to YouTube and we'll have this very same conversation, and you will not see those notices pop up. But obviously I said something that offended the very juices that come out of a woman whenever someone can't handle that they have heard something that it's not what they like to hear. So whoever just got offended in the comments, if you will, exit the back of my ass, because that is how you get out of this room. Okay, back to what I had to say. So anyway, so Texas has this new thing, and so they go and they say, well, here's another law that we're bringing back. We are going to bring prayer back into school. We are bringing the 10 Commandments. It will be visible on the walls of every teacher in every classroom. And the 10 Commandments will be taught and learned and memorized. And that's not going to be something new as to what the ways of Texas and the ways that the things that Texas likes to happen. That's just the way that they are. A shocker is the build. I don't think it's completely passed yet, but the deleting of the Texas lottery system. I mean, not so much as a ticket at the corner store, nor will anyone be able to go and do the weekly Powerballs or any kind of lottery in any form or fashion. If this bill passes, the lottery will not be allowed in Texas at all. And this happened because if you do your research, there's these two guys and they somehow brilliantly robbed the Texas lottery system, and they did so in a way that had never been seen before, and they caused a major upset. And that thing that they did is probably going to be a movie one day, like the Enron scandal. It's definitely going to be a movie one day, what they did and what they were able to pull off. And so they created this thing that, once this passes, there will grandma going to be, everyone have that one elderly person that has to have her lottery tickets every Wednesday or Friday. Like, those people are going to give you the worst time when you come back and say, I can't, Nana, I can't pick up the tickets for you because they're not at the store anymore. They're no longer allowing it's no longer allowing the lottery. That's going to be a lot, but that is supposed to pass soon as well. So when we talk about these things happening, the prayer in school and the no green allowed in the state, and you see the lottery thing, and this different regulations, and even because I am in this state, I just got in trouble for something that I said here, and they said that they just put a restriction on my live from who can actually jump in to see the live and visible to the live because of something that I said. So I'm telling you, the state is not playing with us in any type of way. They are dumbing us down to the point of yeah, ne, and that's all we're going to be able to say, and we're going to sound like complete idiots by the time it's done. But they are making it where we are not able to talk at all. They don't want us to share anything about anything for any reason. Okay, you're going to see us next time you guys come in about 10 more years. We're going to be sitting on carpets and with our hands in prayer, and we're not going to be talking, and we're going to have on outfits that look like the Handmaid's Tale. I'm just telling you, that's the direction that the state is taking us. And for some reason, that pleases the masses. But what about that one thing that they used to do in the Texas schools, and that's the paddle? So if they're bringing everything else back, will they also bring the paddle this session? Are they going to squeeze that in and make that another part of the law? They brought everything else back. Does anybody else remember that, getting in trouble and you had to go and you got paddled by the teacher or you got paddled by the principal? Where exactly are we standing when it comes to the Texas laws? How far are they going to go with the changes that they're going to put in place? I don't know. I have no idea. All right, you guys, that's it. We're fully recorded for the day. When it comes to everything we talked about, the witness on the stand in the Sean P. Diddy Combs trial of the century. We also talked about the pardoning of NBA YoungBoy. You could go do your research on that, and he received a pardon. We also talked about the commuted sentence of Larry Hoover, which has not brought him home from Colorado at this moment, but he is looking at the opportunity for the governor of Illinois to do a pardon, and whether or not he will do that. I suggest that you go do your full research on who Larry Hoover is and why is this a conversation? Why is everybody talking about it? And also go take a look at that clip when Kanye introduced the topic of Larry Hoover to the leader of the nation in 2018, and go take a look at that clip and when they talked about it and what happened. All right. Jen says one day in first grade in elementary, they lined up every class. Look, I remember it happened to me too, and we can't forget it. I'm 51, and we actually you could not say anything out of line. You couldn't use unallowed words, and if you did, you got that paddle, and it happened. And yes, it was in a public Texas school. Brian says that's why people are moving to Colorado. You know what, Brian? A lot of people do make that move for that very reason. If they ever turn red in Colorado, it will be It will be something horrible if because they will be blindsided, so to speak. It says that it won't happen in another state. Probably something I said about Texas, right? Reading through your guys' comments here. Not sure. Someone dry tagged. Okay, that dry tag individual, when you just at someone and you don't put words in there, you guys know not to come in the comments and do that. Sometimes that causes problems for the live as well as for your own personal account. So when you come to make a comment, make sure you type an actual sentence, say something. Don't just dry tag in the comments, okay? That can cause problems in the live. You guys see each other in the live, make sure you follow each other. If you like each other's comments, make sure that you're connecting and following each other, and do follow the host. All right, I'm making sure that I'm going through the comments just in case I missed anyone. And I had no idea this many things were posted up. A lot of times they do get blocked. I see the comment in a shadow. I see a lot of shadows. That mean a lot of people tried to say some things that were not allowed. All right. 1.4 thousand people. you know, it's I just can't even imagine even the persons in charge in today's time. A teacher, I have family members that are teachers and principals of schools, of public schools. I can't even imagine how they would feel if they were told, look, we're putting the paddle back into school, and then whenever that child gets out of line, you have to use the paddle. they they may retire because they are not trying to have them kind of problems in today's world. You know how people act. Do you guys watch the cop cam videos on YouTube? Have you gone down that rabbit hole? People act really, really off when you do something to, someone that they love, right? So I don't know how they would be able to bring it back, but they may, Jen. They may. That'll be a mess if they do. All right, you guys, that's it. Thank you so much. Like I said, 1.4 thousand stopped by. I highly appreciate that. Thank you for stopping into the live. I feel so good that we were able to get all of that in 51 minutes. Y'all know how hard it is to get that done sometimes, but we were able to cover it all as far as what I wanted to talk about today. I also did a little bit more detail as to where I stand on the position of Larry Hoover. If you'll go to my timeline, the video that was made, the very last video, last night's video, you can take a look at my thoughts on the Larry Hoover, okay? And that's all that I have for today. Thank you for coming by. Make sure you follow the host. I highly appreciate you. I'll put a clip of this up. And of course, once it's all loaded, YouTube, the link is in the bio. Once it's all loaded, you'll get the full talks on repeat. If you decide to take it to the salon or the barbershop and have a talk about the things that are said, I'm sure it's something good for you on there. So go to the link in the bio. If you missed my interview last night with the guest that's been here on TikTok, LJ the comedian actually gave me a full, complete interview. And that is also now up and available on my YouTube link in bio. Go take a listen to the story of LJ. That was a really good conversation. I look forward to the next interview on Conversations with D. And if you have someone that has an art or a talent or anything, and they're probably working hard to be seen, and they may or may not, I give probably about 1,000 to 2,000 to 3,000 number kind of views over there on the shorts and videos on YouTube. So they may not be able to get over to Gail King today to be interviewed, or they may not be able to get over to the Today Show to get interviewed. They can come on my channel and I definitely will share their story, and that has been beneficial for people. So if you know an artist, whether they paint, they sing, they rap, they're a comedian, they're an actor, whatever it is that they do, if you know someone, please do send them my way, because the summer series, Conversations with D, I always get really good talks in and learn some really informative things about people from all parts of the world. Thank you so much for coming